Hello and welcome. You're with us here in Business Today. I'm Abha Bakaya. Here are the day's top stories. Gautam Adani addresses Hindenburg allegations head-on at AGM, says vested interests wrote the report to hurt the conglomerate in order to damage its image, adds that India will be a $25 to $30 trillion economy by 2050. Markets slip from record highs, end with marginal gains. IT stocks continue their winning streak. Reliance and Adani Group stocks also boost market sentiment. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das jointly chair meeting of G20 finance ministers and central bank governors. Discussions see agreement on CBDC and some consensus on international taxation. Sleepwell owner Sheila Foam acquires Kurlon for 2,150 crore rupees, forays into the branded furniture market by acquiring 35% stake in Furlenco. Management targets 5,000 crore rupee revenue. Adani Group stocks rallied up to 6% in Tuesday's trade after billionaire Gautam Adani reiterated that the US short seller Hindenburg's report earlier this year was a combination of misinformation and discredited allegations. Speaking at the annual general meeting of Adani Enterprises, the billionaire said he's confident of its governance and disclosure standards after a Supreme Court panel found no lapses at the conglomerate. Adani even spoke about how India is on track to expand tenfold to becoming a $25 to $30 trillion economy by 2050 and shared details of the group's new projects as well as his vision for group companies going forward.
The report was a combination of a targeted misinformation and discredited allegations, the majority of them dating from 2004 to 2015. They were all settled by appropriate authorities at that time. This report was a deliberate and a malicious attempt aimed at damaging our reputations and generating profits through a short-term drive down on our stock prices. Subsequently, despite a fully subscribed FPO, we decided to withdraw and return the money to our investors to protect their interest. While we promptly issue a comprehensive rebuttal, various vested interests try to exploit the claims made by the short seller. These entities encourage and promoted false narratives across various news and social media platforms. Consequently, the Honorable Supreme Court of India constituted an expert committee to look into this matter. The committee included individuals known for their independence and integrity. The report of the expert committee was made public in May 2023. The expert committee did not find any regulatory failure. The committee's report not only observed that the mitigating measures undertaken by your company helped rebuild confidence, but also cited that there were credible charges of targeted destabilization of the Indian markets. Following our independence, it took us 58 years to get to our first $1 trillion of GDP. 12 years to get the next trillion and just 5 years for the third trillion. I anticipate that within the next decade, India will start adding $1 trillion to its GDP every 18 months. This puts us on track to be a $25 to $30 trillion economy by 2050 and will drive India's stock market capitalization to over $40 trillion, approximately a 10x expansion from the current levels. While economic cycles are getting increasingly hard to forecast, there is a little doubt that India, already world's fifth largest economy, will become the world's third largest economy well before 2030, and thereafter the world's second largest economy by 2050. The Adani Group is set to play a critical role in India's net zero journey. Our renewable energy business, Adani Green Energy, commissioned the world's largest hybrid solar wind project of 2.14 gigawatt in Rajasthan. I'm also very pleased to state that ATL's Mumbai distribution business achieved a reliability of 99.99% and was ranked the #1 DISCOM by the Union Ministry of Power. ATL will also take Mumbai to 60% renewable power, making it the first mega city in the world to achieve over 50% power from a solar and wind.
With Prime Minister Modi announcing last week that France has agreed to use UPI software, Made in India digital payment interface is becoming increasingly popular with more countries looking to join in. Money Today editor Tina Jain Kaushal joining us to explain how Indians can use UPI overseas. Tina, take us through.
UPI was primarily launched for domestic transactions, but now it has extended its scope to include international transactions for Indians as well as NRIs. All you need is to have a bank account linked to a UPI-enabled mobile app. The app could be provided by Bheem, your bank, or a third-party app. The good part is earlier NRIs needed an Indian mobile number to set up a UPI ID, but now NRIs can even use their international mobile number to initiate a transaction. Now, how does UPI work abroad? You first need to provide the recipient's bank account number, bank identifier code, and select the currency to transfer the amount. The UPI app then sends the transaction details to your bank for authorization. The bank verifies the user's details, checks for sufficient funds, and approves the transaction if all requirements are met. The important point to note is that the international transaction involves currency conversion. The UPI app also uses the prevailing exchange rate to convert the amount to the destination currency. The converted amount is displayed to the user before confirming the transaction. Last but not least, the availability of UPI international transactions may vary across apps and banks. Some banks and apps may have more tie-ups with international banking partners, while others have limitations or restrictions on certain countries or transaction types. Therefore, it is advisable to check with your respective bank or UPI app providers for detailed information on international UPI transactions.
Thanks for that, Tina. Equity benchmarks, Sensex and Nifty continued their record-breaking rally, reaching new all-time highs today. The Nifty soared to 19,819, that's closer to 20,000. However, profit booking in the second half of the trading session led benchmarks to close with marginal gains. Sensex today up 200 points and the Nifty up at 19,749 at close. Broader markets, however, underperformed, and among sectors, IT was the top gainer, up 1%, followed by oil and gas. Infosys, Asian Paints, HCL Technologies, Reliance Industries and Hero MotoCorp were among the top gainers on the Nifty, while losers included LTI Mindtree, Britannia Industries, State Bank of India, HDFC Life and Titan. My colleague Sakshi Batra spoke to Avinash Gorakhsagar of Profit Mart Securities to find out what investors should do, some of the key mistakes they should avoid when markets are at these kind of levels. Listen in.
Is it getting a bit frothy, or do you believe that the bull run is here to stay?
Yeah, I think first of all, thank you, Sakshi, for inviting me. I think the markets are, extremely buoyant, largely because of the liquidity flows which we are getting from the FIs. In fact, in the last few months, I think since April, since the market started rising, we have been seeing that Indian markets have attracted a lot of liquidity from these foreign institutional investors. And I think today we had hit a high of 19,800. After that, there was some profit booking. But my sense is that, if corporate results are better than expectations and, the Fed policy, which is due for July 25th, if there is some mild positive surprise in terms of the commentary from Mr. Powell, then I think the markets could head to higher odd levels. And I think we should not be surprised. The markets could possibly even look at touching 20,000 in the very near term. But I think it would be a gradual journey from here on.
What is the right way to approach the market right now? What should one do and what should one not do when the markets are at record levels?
See, I think for investors who have participated in this rally and have made a decent amount of profits, my suggestion is that, this is a very volatile market and we are going to see higher levels. But in the intermediate, it's always better to book your, book profits regularly, because, that is how you can secure your margin of safety. So I think at least once your capital is recovered, then I think the investor is at ease, whatever index level the market throws up. So that strategy, I think investors should do. They should not stick only to paper profits. They should convert them to some cash flow. Secondly, for investors who want to enter the markets now, I think be careful about penny stocks and companies, which are not tried and tested. There are many companies which are, running into 52-week highs without any track record or balance sheet strength. So I think focus on quality, focus on the promoter, and look at the sector. I think clearly the sectors which I mentioned are all sectors which probably could show very strong earnings growth for the next 6 to 12 months. So I think you need to be a little selective at this point of time to ensure that you get a decent alpha in the next 6 to 12 months.
The third G20 finance ministers and central bank governors meeting under the Indian G20 presidency is underway at Gandhinagar, Gujarat. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das jointly chaired the meeting. Here are a few excerpts from the press conference earlier today.
That all countries supported India's presidency and also the participation of all the countries on every one of the agenda issues. So each one was recognized for the rich content. And I'm borrowing these words. Rich content is something which many members said on their own, that we appreciate that India's agendas have all been so rich in their content, and the meetings happened with that kind of intent. So all this put together, rather than any one particular agenda, I would think is a very good atmosphere, and the way in which we've been supported gives a lot of confidence for India, and also makes me feel that the work of the entire team, both from the RBI and from the ministry, have really been recognized.
The early enthusiasm among countries about crypto, the belief that it's a great innovation, etc., I think that has been fully addressed in the BIS report. You could just refer to it. And the developments over the last 1 year, the failure of some large crypto exchanges and the investors losing money, etc. So the enthusiasm is now, I think it's gone. It is completely muted, and everybody realizes that there are huge risks. So there is great amount of caution and concern around cryptocurrencies. UPI is now recognized as perhaps the, the best and the most advanced payment system in the whole world. Many countries, we are engaged with many countries to sort of develop interlinkage between our payment system and their fast payment system. Singapore, it has happened. UAE, we have signed the the MOU. Discussions are going on with a few other countries.
Meanwhile, BTTV's Karishma Sadani caught up with South African Finance Minister Enoch Godongwan on the sidelines of the event. South Africa is keen on allowing usage of India's popular payment platform UPI in their country. Listen in.
India's digital public infrastructure, which is also the UPI that they call the Unified Payment Interface, and also CBDC, which is the central bank's digital currency. Do you see South Africa collaborating with India on this in the future, Singapore, Indonesia?
Well, part of the discussion in the BRICS is that payment system. So South Africa will definitely be collaborating with India through that, but I think we've got to move beyond that, go at a bilateral level.
What have been the key outcomes of the discussions so far?
I think the broad discussions around of partner interest to develop nations' debt restructuring are progressing very well. We've got, in terms of a common framework, we've done Zambia now, we're waiting for an MOU. We expect an appointment of another creditors team to look at Ghana, which is quite an important development for us. The second issue is the evolution of the Multinational Development Bank and the banks to structure them in such a manner that they can take the development challenges facing our nations in the 21st.
Equity investors on the Lal Street gave the thumbs up to Sheela Foam after the company announced the acquisition of a nearly 95% stake in Kurlon Enterprises for 2,150 crore rupees and a 35% stake in online furniture firm Furlenco for 300 crore rupees. Sakshi Batra spoke to the company's CMD Rahul Gautam to understand what these acquisitions mean for the company.
What does the acquisition of Kurlon really mean for Sheela Foam, and the entry in the branded furniture rental space also mean for the company going forward?
Thank you, Sakshi. Thanks a lot for inviting me. So that's a very relevant question, and we've been working at it for a long time. You see, India is such a huge and a diverse country that one consumer brand can cater to the needs and requirements of the entire country. It's just not possible. And therefore, this opportunity of having another consumer brand was excellent for combining with Sleepwell, the brand that we have. Plus, each brand, the way that it has grown and developed, one is strong on South and East, the other one on North and West. One sells primarily through multi-brand outlets, the other one through exclusive brand outlets. One is a coir-based product, the other one is a foam-based product, etc. And then there is also a lot of synergy on the back-end side of it, where volumes will make a difference when inputs are obtained. Products will be made wherever they are best made and best supplied from. So all those synergies put together were the reasons behind acquiring Kurlon.
As I understand, currently in the country, it's the larger market share is still with the unorganized players. But with this, you become one of the larger organized players in the market. What would your market share be?
So that's, you've said it right. It's just how you define the market. And if you look at the organized and the unorganized together, keeping that in mind, we would end up with about 12.5 plus about 9, something like 21 to 22% shares, 22% of the market, of the, let's call it the modern mattress market.
Okay, understood. Also, by by what time do you really see the impact of this acquisition getting visible in the books, especially to the top line? What kind of addition do we see from this acquisition for the company?
So the transaction has to be completed after some conditions, which are precedent to the transaction, need to be completed by the other side. We expect it to be done something by end of September, and then I would give it a couple of months for the integration to begin and happen. let's say that some feelers will start happening from January onwards, but the real change will be for FY25.
Okay. And how much, impact on the top line can it really provide to you?
So I would say Kurlon should provide a number close to 1,000, and Furlenco would be close to about 200, between 200 and 250.
As a vision for the company, how do you see, do you have any internal targets over the next 3-5 years that you could share with all our viewers to help get a sense of, what the company will grow into going forward?
So of course the top line numbers are always a target that we look at, and when we say probably in another 2 to 3 years' time, we should be looking at a 5,000 crore top line. But I think more important for us is the impact that one would be making on the society. And we have a goal of providing a mattress for every Indian, a modern mattress for every Indian. And we have been working on that project, which should start operating or start delivering by November this year.
Here's what else is making news in the corporate world. IT giant Infosys has announced an extension of its deal with an existing client amounting to approximately $2 billion for 5 years. This significant agreement primarily focuses on digital transformation and artificial intelligence for its strategic clients. However, the client's name has not been disclosed by the company. Additionally, for the current year, Infosys has announced 2 other mega deals, one with a British oil and gas company worth $1.5 billion and another with Danske Bank valued at $454 million. Infosys shares surged about 4% in trade today. All eyes now on the company's earnings later this week. Netweb Technologies witnessed an overwhelming response from investors on the second day of its IPO bidding process. The issue was subscribed more than 9.14 times at the end of day 2. Netweb Technologies India has set the price band for its shares at 475 to 500. Remarkably, the non-institutional portion getting the maximum subscription of 20.56 times. SoftBank has sold another 2% stake in Paytm via open market transaction, generating over $200 million. The sell comes amidst when Paytm's share price has been consistently above 830 rupees, reflecting the company's profitability. This is the first time the investor managed to sell shares of the fintech company at profit since November 21. Paytm shares slipped over 2% following the news. That's where we leave it on the show tonight. Thanks so much for watching.